Hey, Martin.
Hey, good evening. Good to be with you.
Yeah. How's things been going for you?
Uh, Interesting. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. You left me with quite a, quite a, uh, quite a few lines of inquiry and things to look into. And yeah, uh, I've kind of worked through a lot of stuff, but also got very confused at the same time. Kind of periods of kind of lucidity, and then yeah, followed by some periods of confusion. But the two seem to go hand in hand. You know, one leads to
Sure.
the
Yeah.
other. In fact, it's quite funny. Sometimes when I'm working through these things, and then by the evening, I would get very confused and then go to bed. And then during the night, your head would seem to go into a different place. And a lot seems to, I don't know if I'm asleep or if I'm half asleep, but a lot of clarity seems to come at nighttime.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
That's when your defenses are down.
well, yes, it seems to be. You know, I mean, I find this in the past. It's that sometimes just before you kind of wake up, you get into this frame where you things all just fall into place, and you seem to understand everything. And I don't know because I'm kind of semi-lucid at that stage, uh, and I don't know if I'm just imagining that I understand it all, or if it all genuinely is falling into place. But sometimes I think, oh, I've got it, you know, I've sorted
Mm.
this all out. I know what this is about now, and that's great, you know. I think, and then when I properly wake up, then you're back in the cold light of day and pretty confused again.
Yeah, and that's when triggers become active again. The
Right.
old conditioning kicks back in. Habits. A lot of those are just habits from before. So
Mhm.
it's great that you see that. That's really really valuable to see that this is an in and out kind of thing as we integrate these kind of things. And what will happen, of course, is that it'll become more familiar.
Mhm.
So it's a bit like you're on an alien world, surrounded by aliens that talk a different language, and you just need to get familiar and relax, and things happen. And as
Mhm.
time goes by, that time that doesn't exist, but as we get more experience with this, things change. And also, as you as you words get tricky here, as you understand something, it makes an opening for other things to come up. So a lot of this stuff, of course, is subconscious. It's stuff that you're not even aware of consciously, because you've been living with it for so long that it's gone down below the level of awareness. And those are the kind of things that you start to become aware of again as they start to surface. So, yeah, well, it sounds good. I love it. If there's movement, and if there's confusion, there's usually movement. That's a really good place to be.
Right.
There's things are happening.
Mhm.
Yeah. And what I would love to promote, and you probably already get it, you'll know what I'm talking about, is a sense of discovery. And so it's not like we're looking for something that we know about. We're not. We're in a world where what's coming up is outside of our previous experience. So it is a discovery. Right? Yet,
Mhm.
yet at the same time, there's a degree of recognition, recognition, right? Or remembering. Right? It's kind of like coming home a little bit, but it's kind of coming home to, I would say, something like a more fully functioning human. Whereas
Mhm.
what we've been before, with all of the conditioning that we've had and all of the uh, the reactions to stories that have gone on, it's kept us away from a fundamental human experience. You know, we've lived. I mean, this might sound a bit extreme, but the way I see it is that the normal society is the unreal world. And when you think about it, the normal society has all of these ideals that it takes as good. And those ideals are all conceptual. None of them relate to a fundamental human. They all relate to how we should be. They're all ideals about some fantasy. And here we are getting back to what is the body? What does the body know? What is the body saying? How do we
Mm-hmm.
relate to things? Do we relate to the stories about things? What society teaches us is to put meaning on everything. And then we relate to the meaning, not to the actual thing itself. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I love what I hear. I love that you're in this place where things are moving for you like that. Yeah.
Mm. And as you were saying there, it's a case of discovering, but also recognizing again. And yeah, I go back to that kind of experience that the kind of opening that I had a few years ago. Uh, and you said last time, you'll never get that back again.
Not in the
that's in
same
the
way.
past.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which and then I kind of see that that's sort of obvious and is good because it means I'm not chasing that. Uh, and it seems obvious that when something happens for the first time, that's the first time, and it's never going to be the same again. Uh, you can get the same feelings and the same insights, but experiencing it for the first time and that kind of real discovery was that's a one-off, and now
Mm.
it's a case of recognizing that when it comes back again, but not having that same initial experience because that's
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
you'll get flavors of it for sure. Yeah, but
yeah.
here's the thing. That you can take this as just some some information or some knowledge that you will discover in your experience, right? And that is that every instant is absolutely fresh. There is no such thing as continuity, right? The past,
Mhm.
the past is just a memory, right? In other
Mhm.
words, it's conceptual. It happens as in thought. And the future is the same. Well, it's really obvious about the future, but we kind of think, oh no, the past was real. Well, it was real when it happened, but it's no longer real. Right?
Mhm.
So every instant is fresh. Every experience you have is for the first time,
Mhm.
and it will never be repeated
Mhm.
because you change. Every experience changes you, and so the
Mhm.
next experience is landing on a different person to the last
Mhm.
experience. So even though it seems the same, it has the flavour of something that you're familiar with. It's going to be fresh. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, yeah. There was a lot. Uh, and yeah, one of the other things that really struck me last time when it was said when I was explaining my theory about what had happened to me when I had this ayahuasca trip, and I was in this very frightening place, and I was explaining that I felt I was controlled by outside entities and all of this stuff. And at the end of this, what seemed to me a very rational explanation, it was just said. Uh, well, that's quite a story, isn't it? And I kind of initially took that to mean quite a story. Well, yeah, that's quite an explanation. But actually, it then landed that it meant that that was just a story. It really, it was meaningless. It was just an interpretation.
Right.
And
But I wouldn't say I would strike the word just a story. And so again, we don't want to put a negative value on stories.
Mhm.
Stories everywhere. We live with stories.
Mhm.
They're neither
Mhm.
good nor bad. They're just like the wind. They just happen. Um, so yeah, but your memory of it is much more clearly a story than your original experiencing of it. and your
Mm.
original experiencing of anything is really, really complex, really infinitely complex and subtle, and a whole lot of that stuff you're not even aware of, but you're aware of the effects of it. So it's there's no possible way you if I'd never tasted an orange or chocolate or something, there's no way you could tell me about it so that I could experience the taste of an orange or of chocolate. It's just not possible. And it's like that with your, the any experience you have has the same complexity, that infinite complexity that can't be put into words. We have to retreat to a really simplistic level to explain anything with words. So
Mm.
all we can do is get a vague flavor when we start talking about things. And when you remember things, it's a bit the same. You're only getting a vague flavor of the original experience.
Mm-hmm. But it's as if you kind of take the story as being the explanation, as being being true. There seems to be a truth to the story, which it doesn't have. It's just a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Uh, and then if you react to it, if you think the story's true, well, then it makes you feel a certain way, and you uh, behave in a certain way, and you experience things in a certain way. Uh, and Yeah, that isn't always helpful. uh,
No. Well, it's a
Rather,
great thing to realize, though. Absolutely brilliant to realize that every time you tell a story, it's going to promote a reaction that is going to be unique again.
mhm. um, because again, I was discussing this the terror I had after this ayahuasca experience I had, and I got convinced that yeah, this whole suffering that I'm experiencing would only come to an end when I could accept it, and the suffering was so terrible. Well, I mean, the potential for suffering is so terrible. And my suffering isn't terrible. I have, very little, physical suffering, but I can imagine things could happen in this world, which are so awful that I wouldn't be able to cope with them. And when I left that experience, I kind of thought the story I told myself or the explanation was such that I would have to accept this. If I couldn't accept the most awful suffering in the world, I would never be able to transcend it. I would never die. I would just carry on forever uh, until this acceptance was there. And I just couldn't see a way through how I could accept it, and that was terrible. And then, a few days, the next day, in the clear light of day, you kind of felt okay that that was in the back, that wasn't a reality, but it would keep resurfacing. I kept then telling myself the story. When I was off guard, the story would come up again. And I got to the stage where I knew that story was there and I knew that was real. And I knew there was something I would have to go back to at some stage, which was so awful, I wouldn't be able to cope with it. But I wouldn't be able to die until this was addressed. And that just went on for years, really. At night, sometimes it suddenly resurface this kind of, oh, there is something horrible there. And I would get these sensations in my body. There's all contractions and, muscles would start, contracting. And I thought, I will never be able to end this. I'll never be able to end this. Uh, and Yeah, that was really very frightening, and this existential terror. But over the months and years, that kind of subsided, and I would get less of these sort of flashbacks, or fewer of these flashbacks. And I thought, well, am I just suppressing this so much that I've managed to suppress this so much that it is probably still there, but I'm not looking at it, and it's not there. But I never, I didn't really believe
Mm.
that. I thought that if I actually stopped and looked at it, it would be there, and the whole thing would come flaring up again. And the flaring up, I thought I'd be losing my mind. I thought I was kind of going psychotic. I thought everything was ruined. This was just going to
Yeah.
destroy
Yeah.
my life, and it
Well, that
was
was
the most
part of the
terrible
terror,
thing.
wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Mm.
Uh, but after talking to you last week, and you were saying, "Oh, well, just look at this, just look at it," and I thought, well, really, I don't want to look at this. And Vince seems a really nice guy, and he may be telling me something which is useful and wise, but he may just be a stooge. He may be just part of
Yeah,
this whole
it could be
universal.
totally wrong too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, he could be part of this conspiracy. You could
Oh, I
be,
see. Yeah, 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 yeah.
you could be scripted into this whole thing, and it's for
Right.
you to do this to force me back in here, and it's all going to go wrong if I do. But when I then did start to, expose myself to it, it didn't come up again. I think I saw through it as just a story, and
Yeah. Well, how about this for a story? Your original experience with the drug, right, was that drug just stripped away any of your normal defenses for, let's say, defenses against experiencing the monster under the bed, right?
mm-hmm,
And the terror came from the attempted resistance to looking at that,
mm-hmm,
right? And then the terror continued because of the terror that you experienced. And so
mm-hmm,
when you had that terror, stories turned up that said this is so bad that you could die, right? And that's how bad it was. I mean, it's a survival thing at that level.
mm-hmm,
And then there is the story that says if you go near this, you're going to be in trouble. Right. So it's like there's the original terror that came with the drug stripping away your defenses. And so consequently, here you were faced with the terror of whatever whatever scars your early trauma had left inside you. And they may or may not have been actual. It's irrelevant whether they are or not, but they were there. And your terror was, I cannot look at this. It's too big a deal. It's too painful. It's in fact, I'll die if I go there and look at that. That monster will get me, so to speak. But then the experience of terror became the producer of further stories. And so you can see that every time that you felt a little bit of terror, oh, up came the story that here we go. I'm gonna die for sure. I won't survive this. So you can see how you get this spiral effect where things just heap on top of each other on itself.
mm-hmm,
So it's a story that says if there had been no resistance to the feelings of fear and terror that came up when your defenses were taken away by the drug, then you would have been faced with the monster under the bed, and you would have seen that in fact there is no monster. Right? What it was a child conditioned by circumstances, an innocent child, a naive child, conditioned by circumstances, having nightmares about possibilities. That monster under the bed that we all have experienced as a child, that we cannot bring ourselves to move in bed. We're frozen with fear, that
mm-hmm,
kind of thing. Um, but if mum comes in and turns the light on and looks under the bed and says, there's no monster under the bed, well, you don't believe her. You can look
mm-hmm,
under the bed and see that there's no monster, but the moment she goes out and turns the light off, oh, it's back again. You know.
mm-hmm,
So I mean, this is a really primeval fear that we have, and so this is kind of what you get faced with when you take those drugs. All of a sudden, there is no defense. There is no way you can distract from, and so consequently, there's this incredible terror and fear there, and that then produces the stories that keep this thing going. So it goes
mm-hmm,
on and on and on. Every time you experience a fear, you go, see, there is, I've got to keep away from this. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And it's really weird because the reality is that when you do get to look, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
certainly
what happened?
after speaking. Mhm.
Yeah, go on.
I just after speaking to you last time, and I have been, looking under the bed metaphorically, and I was the kind of physical sensations which come up are really striking, and that were during this drug thing, and have been, subsequently over the months and years. At night I just lie in bed, and my abdomen would just start kind of just contracting in all sorts of funny ways, as if your diaphragm was contracting, your and
Yep,
these
yep,
kind of rhythmic movements, and
yep,
I was kind of, it's just phrenic nerve, or what's happening here, and uh, they were kind of really strange, the sensations, because as I said last time, I felt I don't feel much in my body, but this isn't just a sensation, this was actually physically the body is moving.
yes,
And
yeah,
it was funny because the sensation felt like I was crying, as if I was wanting to cry. But also laughing, or wanting to vomit, or even like a kind of orgasmic kind of sensations, and just the
yep,
musculature of your body. And
yeah, spasms,
whenever
yeah, yeah,
spasms, yeah, and I uh, the fear was kind of bringing this up. But when I looked at the muscle movements rather than the story, the muscle are kind of, not even say pleasurable, but they're kind of really interesting.
yeah,
And
interesting,
you
yeah,
think,
yeah,
oh, this is kind of fun. It's almost fun. The
yep,
skin feeling.
yeah,
The only times I've had those contractions before was, I remember as a kid. Sorry to give a big story, but being sent off to boarding school at a young age, and then after a week there, lying in bed one night, just crying my eyes out for no particular reason, and those sort of visceral contractions of tears, uncontrolled tears,
yep,
and
yep,
I thought, and that just seemed like terrifying at the time. But then after doing that for an hour, they kind of stopped, and everything seemed okay, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
was fine.
yeah,
I went through school and loved school. There was absolutely no problem. But that emotional experience of, I suppose, abandonment,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and
was
you say
very visceral.
you dismiss the idea that there was any valid reason for that crying, but
Mm,
there was. There very much was. As a human being, you were experiencing things like abandonment,
mhm,
aloneness, being a loneliness, all sorts of things you were experiencing. They didn't stack up to something reasonable for an adult, and even for a
mhm,
child, there's this feeling already that they're not legitimate. So
mhm,
then you develop a certain attitude towards yourself. Right? So yes, had you been given the right support, and of course children never did, especially of our generation, or younger generations even, where they never got the support to say it's okay for you to feel this way, and let's look at what it is you feel, and then all of a sudden, again, the monster would dissolve. But until we look
mhm,
at it, or when we try and keep away from it, um, it persists. Yeah.
mhm,
So now because you're not taking the drug, and it's not that really huge, sudden, defenseless state, you will find that you'll go in at it and take several goes at getting closer and closer to what, without even realizing. You don't need to find the original trauma. You don't need to find that. It might show itself, but you don't need to. It what it is, and this is a tricky one, and a very, very valuable one if you can grok this, that this doesn't exist in you as anything other than potential until it gets triggered. And then it's an actual experience, but it's an experience in the now, regardless of the fact that it you could describe it as a trauma scar from childhood or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, but
mhm,
when you experience it, it's something has triggered it in the present. Now that could be that you're trying to remember it, that you're putting yourself in the way of that, or it could be that you're encouraging the physical sensations that you recognize might come along with that. Then if you might allow yourself to get into that that the body spasm kind of situation, and that could trigger it. or it could be an external circumstances that remind you of that you don't even realize because you don't have memory of it anymore. But at the same time, they can trigger a revival of that, so that potential becomes something actual. But it's always actual in the now. And
Mm-hmm.
the really juicy part for you is that is you identifying as a person that this is happening to. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
creating a self in that moment. It requires a
Mm-hmm.
self that it's happening to. And that, of course, that self is nothing other than stories.
Mm-hmm.
So there is the experience, and then there is the meaning that we apply to it in the form of stories. And so the reality is, by rejecting the the invitation that the mind offers you to look into what the stories are and just put the stories in the background and go with the sensation, that that is your portal into what is the identification. And identification is that sense of ownership or belonging, that connection to who is this happening to, what is
Mm-hmm.
happening, right? That there is something that is happening to somebody. And once you recognize that there's, and I mean recognize, I don't mean think about it. I mean, you kind of grok it in your whole being that there is nobody there for that to happen, then it simply has no foundation, and it doesn't happen. And
Mm-hmm.
and at that point you could say you're healed from it. Now it's important, it is a fine line. You're not we're not wanting you to say there's nobody here, therefore there's nobody to feel it, and have that change the feeling. That's
Mm-hmm.
bypassing, right? What we're wanting to do is to recognize that this is a happening that's happening at a physical level with stories attached to it, and that it's a belief that there is a self there that enables it to happen. When that
Mm-hmm.
recognition, that discovery that there's nobody there for that to happen to, it's it's gone, it's finished.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, it'll come back. That's fine as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I
Constant
certainly
in
have.
and out, in and out, in and out all the time until we, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for that. Yeah, no, I
Yeah, you
definitely
go.
have had that
Yeah.
recognition that yeah, that it's not happening to me. It's just there's just the body, the sensations are kind of the primary thing. The awareness of this is a primary thing, and the rest is just a construction on top of it. And I do get a
Yeah.
sensation when I have the that feeling that it's just the guts moving, the sensations are there, and it's just the present moment. There is a real liveliness to it. You know, I kind of feel that I am alive, whereas I'm not normally alive when I'm just in my head, you know, thinking about these things.
Yes.
And I get this kind of feeling that I'm almost just like a slime mold in a petri dish or something. There's just a blob of life here doing stuff, and the rest of it is, you know,
Mm.
just a fantasy world, I suppose. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, that's it. You've got your toes dipping in what I would call the real world, and that is the world that exists beneath or below or beyond the level of words. It's at
Mm-hmm.
a level of experiencing, and that's excellent stuff. Yeah, good thing. Yeah, and of course there is nothing to do. You could just kick back and watch it all happening without applying meaning to it. Just go, oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. Okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't tell anybody about it because it's
No.
beyond the ability of words. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But then my neighbor will do something that annoys me, or a dog will start barking, and I kind of the irritation flares
Absolutely.
up,
Yeah.
and then I kind of start, thrashing around, thinking, you know, this is suffering. How do I stop this?
No, no.
Uh,
Well, see, don't. Yeah. So that's a trap. That
yeah.
that certain things are acceptable and certain things are not acceptable. Everything is acceptable, and
Hmm.
that's a bit of a trick. So let's define awakening, and you can define it from a variety of angles. But the one that I like is that we are words again. We're like, I was going to say we're happy with. No, we're contented with. Where we accept. And see, all of these imply that there's something that involves the mind, but I'm not talking about the mind. There is a surrender to, a willing, inviting surrender to. There is an accepting and a warm, inviting, accepting to whatever life serves up, including what the neighbour triggers in us. Right. So this is the thing. This is not a binary thing. It's not a yes, you're there and no, and it'll never happen again, or no, you're not there. It's yes, you're there. No, you're not. Yes, you're there. No, you're not. Yes, you're there. This is the way it works until it will iron out. You'll get more that you are there and less that you're not there, and so on. But when you're not there, let's say you get triggered into some emotional state because of whatever happens. Your neighbor says something or does something or whatever. At a certain point, you'll realize that you got lost in that state. You were triggered, right? Well, at that moment of realization, you're out of it, but you're back. You're there again, right?
Hmm.
You may apply the meaning to the story that you weren't there when you were lost in it. But the moment you realize that you were lost in it, you are there. Right. And
Hmm.
that will happen. You will be and you won't be. You will be and you won't be. But it's at a certain point when you won't be, you are, but you will be. Right. So at a certain point, you'll get triggered by your neighbour, and you'll see that you're being triggered as you're being triggered, and it'll last for just seconds, and it'll settle down straight away. And so there is no not there in that one.
Hmm.
And then when you are there enough, you'll realize that the whole thing's a load of shit. It doesn't exist. It's just ordinary everyday life anyway. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's an exciting time for you. I get that. There's that. So
Hmm.
great moments. Yeah. And when you're not there, realizing that there are great moments in that as well is one of the indicators that you are there, even when those things are happening. Yeah, don't worry. If it sounds a bit cryptic, it'll clear up for you. Yeah,
Uh, yeah. Uh, no, no, that's definitely good to work with. Yeah, no, I understand that, appreciate that, and yeah, the confusion is kind of uh, disappointing and frustrating, but yeah, it's all part of the thing. I see that. Yeah,
yeah,
and a
yeah. And
confidence
so
that there's.
the trap is to say, well, they're not acceptable. We need to fix them. But
Hmm.
they're there trying to tell you something. They're
Hmm.
there offering you an opportunity to see something.
Yeah. No, I sometimes do see it. I do see it sometimes. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And other times I just distract myself, or yeah, put on the music or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah. The old way kicks in. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
good
No, that's
one.
great.
Yeah. You look bored, Vasvi.
No, I'm not bored. No. Um, I I don't know. I wasn't bored though. It's very weird. I'm working with one guide also in the liberation and thing. And so so like the last few times I don't text her for 2 3 days, and I say with what I explore that what says. And the last time, like, I texted her, I was at home. And can you hear me properly, by the way? There's rain outside and all.
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. So I told her that it's kind of getting a little unbearable because something, I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what I was going through, but it was this belief system and with the sensations. Um, and then I relaxed a bit. It was nighttime. I was done with all my stuff. I had to pack. I moved back to college. So I was packing. It was a stressful day. And then I finally relaxed. And I looked at it a bit, in a relaxed way a little bit. And like this, I had the sensation that I associated with the me. So stupid. What the hell? But like I looked at it and there wasn't any that was directed to the persona, you know, like there wasn't um like in the sensation I couldn't find any uh, soul, any me, the any like the whole persona of Vasily is not directed to an actual separate entity, you know. Uh, and then and then I we did a road trip to my college. So it was 4 or 5 hours. So I was just listening to music and uh, kind of enjoying that, I think. But a part of me was also resisting college because suddenly there was going to be like pressure from 100 places on me, like the moment I moved back. And so when I came back slowly and slowly, like the pressure started coming up. And like it felt like suddenly I was introduced back to the me that was in college. And then the mind just got really lost in it. And there was no one to even object the getting lost. Because like I just after seeing that this wasn't a me, I just did not care. It was like I don't care what gets lost, what doesn't get lost. Because there's no one to protect. So why do I care? So um but I was noticing slowly and slowly that I was on my own going back to the sensations. Sorry for the noise, by the way. Is that too much?
No, it's all right.
The noise outside.
I
Okay.
can't hear it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's very weird. And I've been like constantly, slowly and slowly getting more and more triggered by the stress. But there's no one to freak out about the stress that much, you know. There's like the memory freaking out, but it's like it's just, I don't care,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Yeah. So, so what I'm hearing you say is that there's a contradiction there, in that you know there's no one there, but it
I
feels like
don't
there is sometimes, or you're behaving as if there is.
Yeah, like in the mind there is, but I know that it's not pointing to anything. There's not an
Yes.
actual,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So rather than get involved in that argument, between
Yeah.
yes and no is to
Mm.
look in your body for the sensation that you could describe as identification, that you could describe as a connection to what is not there, but what is believed to be there by some part of you. So even though you know that there's nobody there,
Mm.
when you get triggered, when you feel anxious, right, you're behaving as if there is somebody there. And now
Kind of.
the trick is that somebody is being created conceptually
Mm.
at the same time. So it requires somebody to be there for you to feel anxious about whatever it is you feel anxious about. And you don't have to know what you feel anxious about. You're just feeling anxious, right? But it requires a belief that there is somebody there, even though you know there's nobody there,
Mm.
right? Now, what we don't, this is not something to be fixed. It's to
Mm.
recognize that there is a connection, a feeling of ownership, feeling
Mhm.
of, it's really hard to find right words, but a feeling of identification, a feeling of ownership or connection to that conceptual you that is created when you feel the anxiety.
Yeah, it's not that doesn't feel, I'm not feeling anxious right now. But it built up, and I found some time to walk. Like I was just walking, and because like I could feel my body needing some walking or something. And it's so, I don't know, it's so weird to talk about, but there's just, I don't even know how to say it, because if I say it, it goes like not there, there. It's like it's not even part of the there and not there. You know,
Yep,
there is. It's like I thought the persona would go, but the persona is. It's just that the persona isn't pointing to a person.
exactly. That's right. Yes.
It's fully there. Vasily, whatever her
Yes,
clothes, her
absolutely.
personality, her mask,
Yep.
whatever.
That will always be there. It will change, it will vary, but it will always be there. You never lose that.
Yeah.
If you
There's
had
just no one
no,
to protect, you know?
that's right. There's no one to protect. Yes. And we think we'll adopt a different personality, but we won't. It will change, it will
No.
vary, but still, you'll still be you. You will always be Vaspi.
Mm. There's just no real person that is Vasily.
Mm.
I don't know where I'm at with this. I don't know. There are a lot of intense sensations. There are a lot of thought. All of that is there. But I guess I know where to look, I think. So I keep looking at the sensations, and then it keeps. Does that make sense? Does it happen like this? That it just keeps getting clearer and clearer that there's
Yes.
no. Like I've always heard people describe it like, oh, and then they got it. But that isn't happening for me.
No,
It's
no.
very,
It doesn't happen to many people. And those that it does happen to, guess what? Within 12 months, they'll be having doubts again too. That almost always happens in my experience with people. Yes. And
because this,
yeah. And then those that get it and then have doubts, or they say they lose it, they spend their whole time trying to get it back again. And that's a fool's errand. That never works because they're seeking, and you can't seek and find at the same time. While you're seeking,
Yeah.
you've got to stop yourself from finding.
Yeah. Yeah. What do I do? I don't know how to. This is,
I know. What do you do?
there's just like there's no desire to stop any suffering. I don't know.
No, that's right. No, it's an impossible question to answer. How do you do not doing? Don't do anything. How do you do that?
Just
Well, you
just
can't, can
suffering.
you? Yeah, you
Yeah.
that's it. So I can say, well, just kick back and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
But you can't do that either. Maybe it'll happen, but you can't do it. You can't do anything. Whatever's going to happen is whatever's going to happen. Be patient.
Yeah. Yeah.
While ever things are changing, you're exactly where you need to be.
It's pretty stressful for the body. Like I'm realizing that I need to take care of my body in the sense I need to like move it so that it can cope with the stress of like direct suffering. Like, oh, you've been trying not to feel this? Okay, you're gonna, you know, I don't know.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
I can see the live show of the mind trying to not feel something. You
Mm.
know,
Yep.
I can see it live
Yep.
and I can't add anything to it. At some point, the mind gets tired and it's like, okay, what do you have for me? What can I? What is?
Yeah. That's right. Exactly the way it works. Yep. Yep. The mind gets sick of it. In the end, it's like when doubts turn up, you can't cure them.
You can't deal with them. Yeah.
It's the way you handle doubts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
One thing is though, like this is I know this is not an actual concern, but I know it. But the thing that's popping up right now is like I like there's this very ingrained thing of like you have to survive. Like you have to always do what's best for you, you know? And that kind of is like always keep yourself safe, always hold tight to yourself. Don't do stuff that, you know, always stay on the right path. And it's like that kind of is like, I don't know.
Yep. You will do that anyway.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
you will learn is that you don't have to make that a big deal. That will happen.
Yeah. But
You know
the
right from wrong, you know good from bad, you know all of this stuff. Your body will take care of it.
yeah,
You don't need to do anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The
And your
fear
body will
behind it is coming
insist
up
on
though.
being healthy as well.
Yeah. Mm. Like just the fear behind it is coming up. Like the fear of the wrong, like going to the wrong path. Like I can,
There is no wrong path.
yeah, yeah. But it's the whole world image that I have, you know.
Yeah,
Don't
sure.
do this, don't do that. Um, you're wrong, you're right. That's wrong, that's right. Mm.
Yeah.
It's really, it's really fun to be stressed and not feel like I have to survive. I have to save myself. It's really fun. Like this is what I've been escaping my for like constantly, you know, constant every second I've spent no some this, you know, it's been spent. Every second has been spent. I don't know. Am I boring? This is funny. I don't know. It's happening slowly and slowly, like step by step. It's becoming clearer and clearer. Like the mind wants more and more confirmation. Are you sure? Are you sure? Look again. Look again and tell me. Don't, you know. And I have to keep looking again because the mind finds some leeway, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And every time it's like, yeah.
I was going to say I use a meme that I find very useful here. Let's say you fancy a watermelon, and you go and look in your refrigerator, open the door and look, and there's no watermelon there. So you shut the door of the refrigerator and you walk across the room, and you still fancy watermelon. Are you going to go back and look in the fridge again? You know there's no watermelon in there. It's the same thing. How many times do you have to visit? You'll never satisfy the mind. The mind will have you looking in the refrigerator every 5 minutes, and always there'll be no watermelon there. So when you've looked once and the mind,
Wait, sorry, my net is bad. Hello? Okay. Was it free? Was it frozen for everyone? Oh, okay. I can't hear you. You're muted.
I was saying, you keep talking. You're being very interesting.
I don't know. It's just so weird. I don't even know where I am with this. With what though? I laugh. I'm so awkward also. I had a I didn't hear the whole experience that you had with ayahuasca, but I had a similar terrifying the terror thing with the like an edible. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I could relate to what you said about if I can't deal with the worst suffering, then I had it for so long. Oh my
Oh,
God.
wow. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And for me personally, I realized that it's the ego sees awakening as a test for how amazing it is. So it's like trying to be the best. So like if it
Hmm.
can endure the worst suffering, then it has awakened. Like it's trying to find proof. So
Right.
like
Yeah.
the things that it'll awaken and then it won't suffer. So it's like, you know,
Yes, that's interesting
yeah.
because everyone else I speak to who has tried these things has amazingly positive experiences, and mine was amazingly negative and remained negative. And I
Oh my
thought I
God.
must be very defective in some way. It must be so. And I have talked to teachers in the past about it, and nobody can give me any useful guidance or
Mm.
advice or that. So it's just amazing that Vince seemed to think, oh, this was all, yeah, there, understandable, and it was reasonable what had happened. So it's interesting that you confirm that these experiences were similar for you. So that's makes me feel
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
less
Yeah, I really,
weird.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
really, really did relate. Yeah.
Mhm.
It is
And
like
quite
so like
lots of people have those negative experiences, Martin. You're not the only one, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, they certainly don't advertise that on their brochure.
Well, would people go if they did?
No, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. No, obviously.
Mm.
And yeah. Can I just also like say it was funny because last time you said, "Well, why did I do it? You know, why did I end up there?" And I, was trying to rationalize, how you come to do these things, and who controls that. Why did I end up in a jungle in Peru? Uh, and when you look into it, you think, well, I don't know why I ended there. There was no control over it. But if I didn't control it, well, then there must be someone controlling what's happening somewhere. Uh, and this is where I got this kind of paranoid sense that there's outside forces in a way manipulating things and doing the controlling. But then during the week, when I kind of looked into that, I realized that, yeah, just because I accept I have no control over what's happening, but it doesn't mean someone else is controlling it. Uh, in a way, the opposite of controlling isn't not controlling. It's just that the whole controlling notion is made up in our heads, kind of cause and effect. It's all just a story we stick onto experience to try to make things understandable,
That's
and to
brilliant.
make
Yeah,
things
that's true. Yeah. I
really
mean,
safe.
it's you can recognize that from as young as you can possibly remember, people were telling you how you should be, what was good and what's bad. Like when I was a kid, it was children should be seen and not heard. That around adults in particular, things like that. We have been brainwashed, conditioned, or had pressure on us to conform all our life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the main difference is that the people doing that didn't know they were doing it. They were
Mm-hmm.
also conditioned like that. So it's not a conspiracy theory where there's people who know what they're doing and they're trying to get a certain end result. It's like it's how about this? We call it consensus reality or consensual reality. That is a reality that people agree upon. It's
Mm-hmm.
not real, it's a concept. But because
Mm-hmm.
everybody believes it, that's what we take to be real. So
Mm-hmm.
we're, you're right in a way. You are conditioned and you are controlled, but not by, but the controllers are also controlled. They don't know that they're controlling and they don't know that they were controlled. Well, they would if they think about it, but essentially they take it as normal. And so it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this paranoid thinking that you're controlled by others has a basis in reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wrong to say that they're doing it for some purpose, for some end point, and that they know what they're doing and that it's organized. It's not. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the way things work.
You can kind of see that on a societal level. When you think of politically, you kind of feel that, oh, these politicians are trying to control us in some way. And then you realize, well, they don't have a clue what they're doing anyway. It's,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we feel anxious that they're
Mm.
controlling us, but it's
Right.
not. They're not doing it on purpose, or they're not even capable of controlling us. They're yeah,
Yeah.
whether they realize it or not. Yeah.
So, Vince, the difference with you is that you are telling us what to do and what to think, but you are controlled and they don't know it.
Well,
Yeah. I get this one from my wife a lot too. Yeah. I'm not. I'm not. I mean, this sounds like a crazy thing for me to say. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying,
Listen to yourself more.
yes, I know, I know. I go, no, I know I sound like that. hopefully what I'm saying is for you to consider, and to consider the effect it has, and so on. Yeah. All right. So, all right, I'll just shut up and go home. I don't know.
Telling me to consider this is still
Yes,
telling me
exactly.
what to do.
That's right. There's no getting away from that, is there?
No.
Yeah. They're all wrong and I'm right. You got to listen to me. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting one.
But many people want to be controlled, don't they? Or does the ego want to be controlled? People want to be told what to do. People want to be told to wear masks, and because it'll make them feel safe. They like to have a. What's that?
I don't know. I wonder about that. I mean, I do remember that I wanted to be normal, and I wanted to, and that was a way of wanting to be accepted. And I just failed at it. And I'm really thankful that I failed at being normal. But I remember really, really wanting to be normal. And so there is that.
Really?
Is it a well, when I was young, is it a biological thing, or is it a psychological thing? I don't know. I don't know. It probably doesn't matter. Now I'm very thankful that I was always a weirdo, and I was never normal. There was a lot of freedom in that I didn't experience that freedom as a young person. I felt very bad about that. I wasn't normal.
Thank you. Same.
Yeah.
It's just I get too honest without it. Like the rules that we have to maintain to hide the core, I just like overlook them sometimes, and then people are like, "Oh, what? Why is she saying the thing that no one's supposed to say?" And it feels like, why can't I just like understand the rules? I wish I could just understand them, and things
Well,
would just
they
be
don't
so
make
much
sense.
easier. They
It's
just
not
don't
a
make
case of
sense.
it's not a case of understanding them. You just have to obey them. Don't question them and
Yeah.
obey them. And if you can't do that because they don't make sense, then, well, welcome to the club.
Keep saying to my boyfriend or like my close friend that I think I missed the meeting where they learned how to do this. Like where did everyone know?
Yeah, yeah,
Why didn't I attend that?
that's a big one. But you will come to see what a gift that was if you don't already. Yeah. Power went out here, so I'm now on back on a battery backup. Yeah.
Okay.
We're having a storm, and I'd say a tree's come down over the power line somewhere, probably. Mm. How are you, Helen?
Right.
Hi.
I'm sort of just yesterday and today, what you've been saying this last couple of days about that, the stuff that we feel we need to address, that shadow work stuff. There's some really interesting things what you and Marius were saying about it. Really interesting. That we're not a storehouse. We're not a storehouse of all this past, of all the fears, and I've had some terror stuff as well, in retreats, especially. In retreat with Rupert Spearer, I remember feeling, he said to somebody, you need to look because you will have to at some point. And I don't know how, but my body just took it as a real onslaught. And I just screamed it in the middle of this satsang and ran out. And it was absolute terror. But looking back now, you're right, that there were stories built on that. And every time I felt it, there were more stories added to it. And the same happened at a retreat with Muji. Complete terror of things like breaking down. I could feel and I did
So
at one point.
they would be saying things that took away your defences.
Oh,
that dropped your resistance a little bit, enough to feel really dangerous. Yeah.
I didn't know at that point, but it's starting to dawn on me this last couple of days, because this is what you've talked about. Thought, yeah, that's what's happened. There was a complete break, because I saw a lot of things especially the Muji one, that struck me with absolute terror. A lot of things sort of I became aware of, and I did look inside and see no self, but there was stuff added to it that I kept seeing as well, kept being aware of, and it must have just petrified me that things were breaking down. But I didn't know that then. But I sort of realizing that was what was happening. I thought there was some great terror inside that I have to see, look at, be with, all of that jargon. And I don't think now that that's the case. You don't have to meet it, because it makes sense that we're not a storehouse of all this history and background, upbringing, life story, call it what you will. We're not a storehouse, and it just comes up when it's triggered, and it just sort of comes into being when it's triggered. And other than that, it's not there. It's not like stored in a little bit down here and a little bit down here. But that's what I thought. That's what I thought. That the body was holding. You hear a lot of this, that the body is holding.
Yeah, it's a traditional psychological way of looking at things.
Yeah, and that made sense. That I'm stored a bit in my shoulders and I've stored a bit in my jaw and all. And you sort of think, that sort of makes sense, because you do feel like you're holding it all in the bits. But it can't be. It can't be. It's what is in the moment that you're feeling, and the trigger. And so, yeah, I've been sort of, I've been sort of thinking about this last couple of days, ruminating and letting it settle. Yeah. And there was only a smidge, only a little tiny little light a little light relief, but only little.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Little. So what will happen, because of your way of looking at it now, you will expose yourself to only as much as you can cope with and handle at any one time, and you will thin it out. You will. So you only have to think of that fear that you experience for it to start to produce, to have some energy. And you'll just go as much as you can handle at any time, and you'll work through it.
Yeah,
But what I suggest is really big time is look for the feeling of identification when that turns up. So there's a certain flavor. You're looking for a sensation that has a flavor that kind of says, that's mine, that's me, that's in here. Right? So that's the sensation of connection to it. And when you see that, that's what everything hinges on. And as soon as you see that, you go, hang on, that's just a sensation. It's the story that's attached to that that says it belongs to me. And that's just a story. I don't need to pay attention to that. And so you free up.
I know there's that thing around safety. I'm unsafe. But just this last couple of hours, there was more. Don't shout at me. Don't tell me off. Don't alienate me. Don't leave me alone. Don't neglect me. Don't, you know, all of that sort of stuff. I had a narcissist mother, which I've blamed all my life on. But those are the stories that's been built on over the years. I can see that. But that sense is still there, like, you know, don't shout at me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
But
So when that, sorry.
Yeah, you go.
When that comes up, I just, again, that be with it thing, but just don't listen to the stories. Just, I don't know what happens. Well,
yeah. So just a slight reframe would be to say, instead of saying don't listen to the stories, because you can't help listen to them really. They're there and they say their thing. Don't engage with them. Don't invite them in to the belief room. Right. What I say is what you can do is you can kind of tell those stories. Look, say whatever you like, but go over the other side of the room and do it. And because I'm busy, don't bother me with it. And so you're not trying to stop it. You're not trying to not listen to it, because as soon as you do all that, you create resistance again. And so, which gives the stories solidarity by just telling them to look, say whatever you like, but go over there and do it. All right. I'm busy looking at what my sensations are. And you say there's a disengagement rather than a rejection. Rather, there's no resistance, there's no opposition to the stories. There's just a, you know, you can do it, but I'm busy, leave me alone. Just don't engage. It's just a technique, but it's a subtle one, but it makes it a lot easier. And so you don't have to say to yourself, it's just a story, they're wrong, they're not believable, right? Because you can see when I'm saying that there's an energy in the body that and a tightness that goes on with it, you know. Whereas if you say, "Oh, you're full of shit, go over there and leave me alone," you know, it's just it's much more relaxed. Yeah,
yeah, and then you don't run with it, because
yeah.
sometimes if you engage with it, it starts to run
Well,
into
that can
another one.
happen, and you don't realise, but you will
Mm.
realise at some point, and that's
Yeah.
a key point. That's a moment when you step out of the story, and that's then you can say, "All right, you go over there and do your thing, and leave me alone." Yeah.
Yeah, it's all adding up now, because it's only just recently, in the last few months, you know, the stories. I've started to notice the stories that, you know, you guys been talking about all this time, which I knew to be the case, but I'm seeing it more and more and more, just how many stories there are. So added to the, you know, you're not carrying this load of different bits of trauma or whatever. They just arise in the moment when you find something to react to, when there is something to react to. It all sort of melds together, you know, the stories plus those reactions that should just coming out of being. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
sort of. And this is a totally different way of looking at it from, say, 10 years ago, in the Advaita scene, in the non-duality scene. None of this was spoke about at all. It was always noticed, you know, the I am and the, you know, the other self. It was all about
a
that.
different a different thread. It's a different way of going about it. So
totally different approach. Yeah, and it's a lot more day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot more sort of juicy stuff that is part of our everyday life.
Yeah, well, I say it's a human path we're on, not a spiritual path. I mean, there are spiritual elements to it, but that's not the primary thing. The primary, this is human stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Like I said, I've been on the path about 40 years, like yourself, 40 odd years. And I remember reading Krishnamurti right back in the day when I was in my 20s, reading Krishnamurti. Didn't know quite all of it because a lot of Indian Advaita stuff in books.
Yeah. I could
Found it
never make
difficult.
sense of Krishnamurti when I was a
No,
seeker. Never.
but I
And
knew it
after
were
I
right.
after
knew
I
what you
woke
were
up,
saying were
I read.
right.
Yeah. Well, I thought, I always got the feeling that, there's something good here, but it was a bit beyond me, it went over the head kind of thing, and it didn't make sense. And then after I woke up, when I read him, I knew exactly what he was talking about, but God, it was boring stuff. Just couldn't make myself read more than a few minutes of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there
But
is
then when
that.
it all
Yeah, go on. There you go.
I was just saying, when it all blossomed then, and there were a lot more teachers on the scene, and a lot more with
Yes.
some with very contradicting stuff going on, and
Yeah. So what I watched a video a couple of days ago, and it's the first video I've watched in years, but for some reason or other, this caught my interest, and I watched it. And this bloke was talking about there's 4 threads that you could go on with awakening, and what he talked about was, well, one way to put it was there's the emptiness thread, right? So at the hero at the end of the emptiness thread, the one that wakes up on after going down the emptiness thread, will say, "There's nothing. There's nothing here. It's the way it is." And then there's the fullness thread. And so when you go down the other end of the fullness thread, the hero at the end of the fullness thread, he says, "I am everything. The whole world is me, and I am it. I'm everything," right? So he's the hero that turns out at the end of that waking up period, a thread kind of thing. And then there's the energy thread, and the energy thread of the people that have a Kundalini awakening. They have this energy that comes up in their body, and it's a very physical kind of thing. And when the hero at the end of that path, he goes, "The whole world is just energy. It's all moving, and it's everything is energy, and I am energy, and the world is energy, and so on." And then there's the psyche thread, and that seems to be the one that we're on a bit here, a bit more, which basically says conditioning. Conditioning says that's what determines our reaction to things. And the end of the conditioning thread, the hero at the end of that thread says, "It doesn't matter what turns up. It's all okay. I'm equally equanimous with shit turning up or with something good turning up." So it's like that's there, and then you get a mixture of those threads. They can be all intertwined together as well. So there's no. Some people are just more inclined one way or the other, and so there is that. But eventually, they all kind of come to the same place. So it's really an interesting way to look at these kind of things. Yeah, and it seems
yeah,
to me that
it
they.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, because it explains a lot of where a lot of the speakers come from. So,
Yeah.
like you said, each of them 4 paths,
Yeah.
some then, they're going about energy,
Yeah.
some, like you said, and that
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the non-duality one is the fullness thread, where so people get down the other end of that and they say, well, we're all consciousness. We're all, we're all awareness. That's all that exists. Kind of thing. So it's just, yeah. But the one see, and you can see that the people in India particularly who the Hindus, it's I've got a very limited understanding, but I see it's a bhakti yoga process that they seem to
Yeah.
focus on, and that's
Yeah, the
love,
back
and
to,
that's
the love,
all
back
yeah.
to.
So that's
Right. It's a
that's a
devotion.
fullness thread. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's how they
Mm.
come to that in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I see that the psyche thread seems to be more suited to Western culture. You know, because
Because
that's
there's a bit of analytical stuff going on. You start with
yeah,
analytical
and
stuff.
it's recognizing what actually exists in terms of our conditioning, how we're meant to be, and so on. In spite of the fact that, say, some other cultures have a lot more rigid conditioning than we seem to have, but our conditioning's still pretty pervasive. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the I don't know where this thing came from. You know, in fact, I'd probably blame Marius for most of it, but I'd say the idea that this trauma doesn't exist in us. I don't know where that came from, except it exists as potential until it gets triggered. So that's just something that's kind of evolved in this brain here somewhere. I don't quite know where that came from, but there is a caveat to that, and that is that for some people there may be trauma that is active at a subconscious level. But I would say that those people would be um, in extreme situations where that's happening all the time for them because of that stuff. But for our purposes, the idea that it's only there as potential, and then when it gets activated, right, we actually create an identity to provide a foundation for it to exist, is very useful. That's a really big one. That's my current obsession anyway.
Mhm. So, Vince, for something like PTSD, does that not exist in a kind of a programming in someone's head, which when it's triggered, it then produces an effect? So it's not. It
Absolutely,
is
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
dormant. It is something which is dormant there, and which doesn't. I mean, the effects are arise in the moment, but there's because something has been triggered, which is there.
Exactly, that's right. Yeah. Well, no, again, it's that the same stories explain it. You know, but yeah, yeah. So with somebody that's got PTSD, they're very easily triggered, and they're triggered frequently, probably. But there will still be moments when they're not triggered and it's not there.
Mhm.
But it could be that the moment they go to sleep, their defenses are down, and so it arises. So it's like it's not triggered by the presence of something, it's rather triggered by the absence of the defense, whatever they're using as a defensive behavior. So there again, but that's one of those extreme situations. I mean, of course, it could be the case that they're living with it all the time. But that would be, again, the pretty extreme situation that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So first responders are probably, and then military are the people that would experience that kind of stuff. And of course, they can't get it out of their head what they're going through. So then they might that see it becomes a bit of a circular thing again, because they frequently experience the trauma, of it being activated. They get told that they've got this thing called PTSD or they're depressed or whatever, and they get put on medication, and so then they've got to live with the effects of the medication as well. Now, I'm not saying that's not appropriate. It certainly is appropriate in a lot of cases, but it becomes a bit of a cyclic thing as well. But again, it's outside of my experience, much of that. I haven't had personal experience with somebody that's living with intense PTSD. I'm always wary of labels, though. I mean, once we label somebody, once we say, "Oh, you've got that thing," then the medical profession wants to treat the symptom, the label.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking into my particular trigger, and some memories came up, and I think the common theme was that I have a task to do, but I'm not sure of the rules, how to do it. So I have a feeling I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, it was a situation when I was a child, and my mom sent me to buy potatoes for dinner. Normally she wouldn't, but she had no other choice at this moment. So she gave me money, and I went, and I asked for a kilo of potatoes. The man waited it, and I gave him money, took the potatoes, and went off. And he called after me, wait, your change. And I was so, I have no idea what I am doing. And he could give me, half a kilo or 5 kilo of potatoes,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have any idea what is happening, because I couldn't read the measurements on when he
So the so did you learn something from that experience, or did you avoid those experiences in future, or how did you feel about that?
um, it was like that maybe I should have asked for more instruction, but I didn't even know what to
What to
ask
ask for?
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What is it?
why
I
did
don't
you?
know what is it that I don't know.
Yes, that's right. So so it's not reasonable. So would you not expect that your mother should have told you how much they would be and to make sure you get the change and things like that?
But I was a smart child. I was good at math, and it's just it doesn't even make sense that I couldn't apply it somehow.
Mm.
to buying things.
Yeah. 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 You didn't see it as a maths issue. You saw it as a potato issue.
Just the practical application of math.
Mm. And do you still feel that there are things you don't know?
Um, what is not like that?
Yeah, of course. Well, all right. So do you respond to that? Do you find that in your daily life you respond to that in some way, or does
Yes,
it?
it
So it
triggers fear.
right, right.
Well, I call it fear. I can
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it,
Something unpleasant. Yeah.
heavy weight in my lower belly and so on.
Mm, mm. So somewhere, I imagine that there's a story that says you should know.
Um, it's more. I think it's more like it can be dangerous to not know, because I
So
think the fear is bigger when the stakes are bigger.
yes, of course.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
I imagine that if I have a bomb to disarm, an explosive to disarm,
yeah,
and
yeah. It
I
would be
don't
life
know
and
what
death.
I'm doing, and
Mm.
I don't have clear instructions how to do it, then the fear is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is that intensity of fear present in your daily life for of with other things?
It's mainly about work, the tasks that I'm paid for,
Mm,
because there are stakes. It's my living.
mm, mm. So is it more that you think you should know more, or do you think they'll find out that you don't know more?
Uh, both.
So would you say that you experience this uncertainty, or maybe it's more intense than that, on a daily basis, or once every few days, once a week, once a month, once a year? How often would this?
Um, I'd say that it is, in many different instances, and it varies in intensity. Sometimes it's just a little discomfort, and sometimes it can go
It's bigger,
to
yeah.
severe anxiety where I can't concentrate
Mm,
anymore.
mm. And would this be daily, or weekly, monthly?
On a low level, I think it's daily.
Right. Right.
This high level, once a few months.
Yep. Yeah.
So it depends on the situation.
Yeah, of course,
Maybe
of course. Yeah,
once
yeah,
a year.
yeah. It would depend on all sorts of things. Yeah, right. But even that low level on a daily basis, you could even almost say that it's always there.
Mm-hmm. I think in these meetings, it's very much here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I don't understand what you are saying most
Uh,
of the time.
well, how can you do what I tell you if you don't understand?
What can I do?
No, I'm joking. Yeah. Right. So that,
You know, and in this instance, in the past, I bought the potatoes,
yeah,
so it can be done, but
of course
it's
it can
not
be done. Yeah, yeah,
comfortable.
yeah. I will always give you your change. But joking aside, that suggests that you live with a low level stress in your body all the time, and that can be exhausting. So when you question that, I mean, you've been in the same job for a while, I presume, and so you've always managed, even if you're not sure about what to do.
I think my employers also are not so sure what to do. No one is.
That kind of job, all right. Yeah. So what do you believe about it? Do you believe that you are deficient? Do you believe that the job is not the end result is not mapped out clearly? Where does the
No, I think it's just how world works.
right? It's the nature of the job. It's not you personally.
Yes, clear rules in my experience were only in mathematics.
Hmm. Hmm.
Other than that, everything is arbitrary.
Yep. Yep. So knowing that, why are you not relaxed about it and just go with it?
Because the reaction are triggered.
So if we say that the reactions are not triggered by the job itself or by the work itself, but by your beliefs that it should be different to the way it is. That's where the trigger is. Or that you would like it to be different, not necessarily that it should be different. You would like clear-cut guidelines about what to do, and they're not there. So you would like it to be different.
No, it's uh,
Well, you don't have to come to a conclusion about that. Let's say, though,
I think it's triggered by my belief that not having that knowledge is can be dangerous.
Yeah, okay. But there's no way for you to get that knowledge, is there?
No.
No, it's not in you. It's in the nature of the job that the impossibility of getting that knowledge exists. Yet you feel personally stressed about it. There would be nobody doing your job that would feel like they do know because of the nature of the job. But you take it personally.
Why personally?
Because it's your stress, it's your uncertainty, it's your
Yeah, but
discomfort.
I think everyone has it.
Everyone would, yes, yeah.
It's just how humans work.
Mm. So would it be accurate to say that you do your best, always do your best at doing it right?
I don't even know what does it mean.
No. Well, let's put it another way then. Let's go the other side. You don't care how good it is. You just you're just going to do the minimum, and doesn't matter if it's right or not.
I just do what I have to do.
Mm.
If I care because I have to care. I do not control my level of care.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's a tricky point. I can't get my mind around why you would then feel any anxiety or stress about your job, about the level of adequacy or how well you do it. You care. It would be different if you didn't care, but you do care. And to my way of thinking, that you should feel okay about that. But apparently you don't. Could you do better if you worked harder?
Do better. What do you mean by do better?
Could you do your job better? Could you turn out better results? I mean, it's a stupid question, eh? Because what happens is what happens, and that's fine as far as everybody's concerned, except you. Well, even that's fine, but somehow there's some part of you that doesn't feel fine about it. Like you feel like you should know more, and yet your job is not going to allow that. The
Not
nature of
only
the
my
job.
job, human nature.
Yeah. So
It's
you
just like,
couldn't do it any
I
differently,
I
could you?
don't like being human.
Ah, okay. Right. Yes.
What a awful thing to be.
Right. We'll see if we can implant some artificial intelligence and then it won't be an issue, eh?
Uh, I don't have high hopes for
Okay.
seeing the AI now.
Yeah, well, AI might take your job and it won't worry about what level it does. Mm. So what triggers? You said before it triggers, something gets triggered in you, and that something is that you don't know enough or something. Yeah. So when we sort of talk about triggers, we generally say there are certain circumstances that turn up, certain conditions that arise that trigger a feeling of something. In this case, it would be a feeling of I should know more. Well, even that's not right, is it? Not I should know more, because we come to the conclusion that it's not possible for you to know more because of the nature
Yeah,
of the work.
it's rather, it would be better if I could know more.
Hmm. So it would seem to me that maybe that response would be triggered by the very nature of the work, and it would be anytime you're doing the work that would be triggered. Boy, change your job. It's not healthy for you to be stressed all the time about something you can't change.
It's life. Life is not healthy for me. Oh,
Okay, yeah. Wow. Mm.
no, it can be job and it can be doing groceries.
Mm.
It's the same.
Can I just say here, please? I get it. I totally get what you're meaning. Because I used to feel everybody's been given the rule book, and I've just not had any access to this rule book. And it's in every walk of life. It's any social interaction. They all know what they're doing. I don't. I really don't know how to act. I don't know my boundaries. I don't know. I've not got all the facts here, so I can't be. I can't be doing it right. I can't do it right because I don't know. So all the time, I sort of have that underlying. I'm doing it wrong. I could be doing it wrong. I mean, it's got less as I don't work now. It's got less, but it's still in those social interactions. You know, I should know everything that's been said here, and I find that anxiety provoking. So I sort of and I spoke with some neurodiverse people, and that seems to be a commonality within the neurodiverse people. So I
You
don't
know
know,
what?
but
I suspect it's common for everybody, but a lot of people don't know it. Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, could be. Mm. Mm.
Yeah, and
And it,
somehow I know that nobody knows the rules.
exactly. Because they
Nobody
keep,
knows.
yeah.
I know, but this knowledge doesn't help me. I'm still getting triggered.
Mm.
Mm,
Mm. Mm.
mm.
Yeah.
It's not better at all that nobody knows.
Mm.
Nobody is safe from this dangerous lack of knowledge.
Mm.
I suspected that I reached a point where I said, not only do I not know the rules, but the ones that I do seem to understand were really stupid rules. And so I just dismissed the whole thing and decided, oh, well, I've got my own rule book, and it makes a lot more sense than yours. So forget about it. And that was a point of freedom, maybe. But if you feel that you should still be obeying that set of rules, you've got to know what they are. And the problem is that they change
But
as well.
no,
Yeah.
it's not that I have to obey some set of rules. It's more like there are no rules.
Yeah.
There are just people just came up with some
Yep.
predictions about these rules. It may be like this, or it may be like that, and it works. It's good enough.
Mm.
Mm, if we are all, you know, just going around blind and trying to find our way, and that is dangerous.
Yeah. Yet you watch a crowd of
Exactly.
people.
You said that you follow your own rule book, and maybe this gives you this feeling of safety. I have my rule book.
It's not prominent. It's very, but not trying to work out other rules, society's rules. That's much more prominent. Yeah.
But it's like I have my own rule book, but I know that a lot of it is just bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't feel
Well,
safe with
yeah.
my rule
Yeah.
book.
Well, I had this picture, this image of a crowded town square with thousands of people all walking around. And you think, wow, look at that. It's chaos if you look at it from a distance. And yet when you get zoom in and look closely, you find that nobody bumps into anybody else. That there is some kind of intelligence that keeps people safe. They all walk around, they're all moving all the time, and yet they're not tripping over and they're not bumping into each other. It all works. And it works seemingly without any control anywhere. And so rules and lack of rules are a bit like that crowd. You know, it works whether you follow it or not. You don't have to have lines on the ground that you keep everybody walking on one side of the line in that direction and the other side in the other direction. I mean, that'll also work, but in this crowded town square, 1,000 people all walking at the same time, and nobody's bumping into anybody else. And they're not even thinking about bumping into anybody else. They don't expect to. So there's no control involved. It's just the way it works. Works rather well.
Until something unexpected happens.
Thank you, Bianca. Yes. If one person goes down, yes, a whole lot of others can go down too. Yeah.
One person fall down, and we have
Yeah.
with traffic jam
Yeah.
in the whole city.
Yeah.
But Vince, if you try to impose rules in these situations, it just makes things worse, doesn't it? You know, you can imagine, it's a kind of left brain, right brain thing, isn't it? That you can imagine a council imposes a rule that there has to be a line down the middle of the road, and that you walk this side and the other people walk the other side. Well, at some times of day, there may be many more people walking one direction than the other, and the whole system becomes very inefficient because everything's crammed into one side of the road. Whereas if you just leave it with no rules and just a kind of right-brained, spontaneous system, well, then this will work much better. And these people in positions of power try to regulate everything. One little thing goes wrong, they put a regulation in to try to control everything, and this rule just has unintended consequences, and the whole thing just becomes even more chaotic than it would have been otherwise. So, rules are a two-edged sword, really. You have to. You can never really have an absolute rule. You have to have flexibility within rules.
Yeah.
And as far as at work, again, I know this isn't perhaps quite what you're talking about, but I was listening on the radio yesterday, and someone was saying that psychologists say that everyone has imposter syndrome to some degree at work. Nobody really knows what they're doing, but you just have to,
pretend.
You may be anxious or not anxious, but you just do your best, and hopefully it all works out. And the reason I am anxious, when I don't feel competent or I don't know what I'm doing, isn't so much. It's more I'm concerned about the social disapprobation involved in being found out not to know. If I don't know what I'm doing and I make a big mistake and nobody finds out, well, I don't feel too bad. But if people know I don't know, it's an ego thing. I would then feel anxious. So I would feel it's all about ego rather than actually knowing what I'm doing. But anyway, that's
yeah. Well, I wonder if that's part of my rule book, that where I declare loudly all the time I don't know anything. So I can't be found out for not knowing something because I'm already telling you I don't know anything.
Yes, that's one get out of jail card you can't play.
And the other one is I'm weird. So I can say or do anything and it's just me being weird. That's fine.
Yeah. Yes. And if other people don't, well, I don't know if you actually have rules, but if other people don't follow your rules, does that frustrate you?
No, I accept that there's, but I wonder how well they follow the rules as well. They're just like the imposter syndrome. They're just pretending to follow the rules. They're just pretending that they understand them because they're not really understandable. They move around all the time. They shift.
Yes. But if,
I mean, that's just the way I see it. I don't know if it's true or not.
Because sometimes I feel, the rules I have in maybe not so much work associated, but when you feel that people should behave in a certain way, I feel there's a rule that you shouldn't let your dog bark at night. And if people don't follow that rule, I then will get frustrated.
You obviously don't own a dog.
No, well, I know. Well,
Well, let me
there's-
tell you, I've got a dog, and when it barks at night and I tell it not to, it doesn't pay any attention to me.
Oh yeah, no, I know this. I know, no, it's yeah.
But
Just like,
here's an interesting one. I this came to mind when we were talking. I was at the supermarket with my wife the other day, and you go up, you walk in the door, and you go up that aisle and down the next aisle and up the next aisle and down the next aisle. And I was in one of the aisles, and somebody was coming the opposite direction, and I remember thinking, "You're coming the wrong way. You're going
mhm,
against the flow of traffic."
mhm,
So it was like there was a rule that this person was breaking, and I felt that they shouldn't be doing it.
mhm.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't concerned about it. I didn't say anything, or I just went around them. But I had the thought, I recognized that I had the thought that they were going against the flow of traffic, and that was meant that we had to dodge each other.
Mhm. So, what would be an example of a rule that you don't obey that you feel other people do obey when you say so?
Oh, just well, the one that comes to mind straight away is um, politeness stuff. Talking a bit. I ask questions of people that are considered impolite sometimes.
Okay.
If I'm forced to have a conversation with somebody, I want it to be interesting. I'm not going to talk about
Mhm,
football because I'm not into football, but I want to
mhm,
know about their life. I want to know about how they feel about things, and that's
mhm,
often stuff that you don't normally get asked.
mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's very authentic of you because I spent my life conforming to the rules and being as well conforming as possible in social situations, and it doesn't come naturally. I felt I've learnt the rules and I know what's expected of me, and in order not to be criticized or considered weird, I make a big effort to follow all of these rules, and I think I can do it
Mm,
very well. But I know it's a complete performance, and I
mm,
never feel
mm,
comfortable. In social situations, I can go into a room of people, and I hate the thought of, I'm a very uh, what's the word, introverted person, but I know all the rules for going into a room and what you say and how you engage people, and I
mm,
will follow
mm.
these rules, and people will consider I'm very good at doing all of that. But I know it's all a complete mask and an effort,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
very uncomfortable. And yes, I would love to be able just to go in and tell them what I thought, or what, not be worried about what other people were saying. With all of this whole
Mm,
process, I find, yeah, I know my mind is kind of what is causes all the suffering, but I can't help feeling other people kind of interacting with other people is a huge cause of suffering for me at some level. I would find
yeah.
this all much more relaxing and understandable if I didn't have to engage with other people. Like, yeah.
Well, okay. There's another rule that I might break, and that is that I find myself, and I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the exact thing, but recently, only in the last couple of days, I was in some social situation, and I just can't pull to mind what it was, but I remember feeling it was boring what they were talking about, and so I was off in my head somewhere else altogether, just not participating. So I kind of see myself in a way as a shy person as well, in the sense that I'm not, but I'm quite able to pretend to be extroverted. I'm quite able to be extroverted. um but if I'm doing that, you know there are certain circumstances where I'll just go along with whatever they're talking about, the weather or whatever. But as soon as if I get bored, I'll either withdraw altogether, or I'll ask them how they feel about that, and then I'll go down that road. Yeah.
Yeah.
People love to talk about themselves, so it's easy. I hardly ever talk
Um,
about myself in social situations. I find that really difficult to do that one. but
Mhm.
because there's nothing to talk about, I've got to make stuff up unless I'm start telling them about playing golf or something like that, you know. But
Mhm.
otherwise, yeah, if they're not a golfer, they're bored by that anyway. So, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tricky one. But I do wear that weird badge quite loudly, and I should have it tattooed on my forehead because it gives me permission to do all sorts of things. Yeah.
Mhm.
And people accept it. People are really good about it. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's when you try to be normal and fail that they tend to be critical.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's very right. It's like, you know, if so I do someone with some like neurodiverse type thing like ADHD or something like that, you know, if you don't know that they have, say, that condition, you can think, oh, that person's really weird, or you're kind of more a moral judgment. But once you know that that's just the way they are, well, then you just accept it, and you know, it's.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Well, that's an interesting one. I tend to see everybody like that. You know, it's like
Mhm.
if I've got to formalize it, I would say, well, everybody's on the spectrum. You know, but
Mhm.
you know, the world's full of all kinds of weirdness. You know, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
arseholes, and there's a lot of good people, and there's a lot. You know, the whole range is there everywhere all the time.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm amazed that I sometimes find myself socialising with people who would be considered arseholes, and yet I find them quite fine. You know, it's
Mhm.
just maybe I just don't trigger that in them or something.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I suppose, yeah, accepting people for who they are is, you know, very healthy way to interact with people, isn't it? Rather than criticizing them or judging them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but then you think about anything other than that is insanity. It's how, you know, to not accept people for who they are. How crazy is that?
Except that you want people to change. I'm always wanting people to change and not to be behaving the way they're behaving, which is
Oh
very
well,
stressful. You know?
you're going to get worn out with that one.
Oh no, I am. I
Yeah.
am totally worn out by it. Yes, yeah. You know, I know that's very.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I feel it's. I mean, I see through it. I mean, I'm not completely, you know, but I
Mm.
do feel like, yeah, I live life kind of with my foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time, and there's a kind of always trying to, uh, yes, manipulate things, but yeah. But I can see through it. You know, this helps a lot seeing through it. You know, and I'm much more accepting of people than maybe I used to be. But yeah, but I try very hard to be. You know, I have, and I recognize I try very hard to be conventional because I think that's a way to get ahead and to you know not cause problems and not to be rejected, and to be which
Mm.
is a prideful thing, I suppose. And yet, one aspect of that, which I think must be of big significance, is I am gay and always have been. And growing up, I was always very cautious and very aware of behaving in a way that people would think was conventional and
Well,
acceptable.
back in the day, of course, that
Yeah.
was a big issue, wasn't it? You know, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
Less
especially in
so
part of the
today, but
country.
probably still to a degree, but much
Yeah.
less so these days. Yeah. Mm.
Hmm. Uh,
You know,
so.
in my experience, I found out that what I have thought was breaking rules was not breaking rules at all. And there was also wearing a badge. I am breaking rules, but it was all in my head. There were no, it was like just people didn't react with, how can you do this? It was just, oh, you don't want to do this? Fine. It's not a problem at all.
Okay, and that
Yeah.
badge of rebel you had to take off. Yeah.
Big joke.
Well, I think we'll wind up in a few minutes if nobody else has got anything that they want to work through.
No, can I just say that is very interesting because again, it all relates back to stories we tell about ourselves, though, doesn't it? You know, all these explanations I have. You know, it is all. I'll not say just stories, but it's all stories. I remember last time I said to you, I feel like I'm a very self-conscious person, and you just, in your Australian way, sort of said, "That's bullshit. Just stop that story." And yeah, it was so true. It is just a story. So all of this stuff, which seems so, you know, psychologically, you know, significant and profound, is actually all just a story. And yeah,
Yeah,
on one
but
level.
that's not to downplay the effects that it's had. Of course, you know that, and some people live in hell because of that. So it's no doubt, you know, it's significant.
Mm.
But it is not just a story. But it comes from the way we see ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that hell is something we have to go through to get the other side, though, isn't it? Or
Yeah. That's right. You don't get away from it by running away. You got to go through it for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we're here. So thanks for pointing
Yep.
the way.
Yeah. Oh, you're very welcome. I mean, I sometimes ache to be able to give somebody the sense of freedom that I have. You know, that I don't feel constrained by anything much. So yeah.
Oh, that's inspiring.
Well, you can just tell by when you talk to me, you know, like I don't even think about what I'm going to say. It just comes out, whatever it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bit of identification.
Well,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lots of love
Yeah,
to
love you too.
everyone.
Yeah.
Martin, Helen,
Bye-bye.
love
Right.
you.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.